What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Part-Time Watchers podcast with Keith and Lorcan, where we talk about everything in the world of pop culture, movies, TV shows, video games, comic books, you name it, and we might talk about it part-time. Welcome to anybody that is joining us in the YouTube world, the world of YouTubes, that we are now putting these podcasts out on. Nice. Lorcan, how are you doing today?
I'm all right. I think I'm doing better than you at this stage. Just by the sound of things, I haven't lost my marbles just yet as well. You know, I've come accustomed to this new quarantine world that we live in at the minute in time, and I'm kind of grown accustomed to like being locked inside a cage for a long period of time. So I don't think you have. I think you're starting to lose it.
Well, I don't refer to my own house as a cage, so I think I'm doing.
Maybe
I'm not doing as bad as you think I'm doing.
There's bars on my windows, so you know.
Okay, they're actually which is a bit strange. But yeah, welcome back to the show, everybody. Before we get into, we have lots and lots of good topics today. There's loads of trailers because obviously we missed last week's podcast. We had a little weekend where we just said nope, and we were actually both busy, so we couldn't do a podcast. Yeah. We didn't just skip out on everybody. But so we've loads of trailers to talk about, and the big thing we're going to be talking about is Ghost of Tsushima, or Ghost of Tsushima. We've both been playing that for a bit this week, so we've got some thoughts and some opinions on it. But before we get into any of the news for this week, we just wanted to let you guys know about the other show. So if you're watching us on YouTube,
we have another show.
We have another show.
Am I in it?
You're in it.
Oh wow,
yeah.
Nice.
We've done it together.
Oh yeah,
remember that one?
No.
Just a couple of days ago, maybe. If you're on YouTube, hang around till the very end of this video, and then it will tell you should watch one of our other videos.
Hopefully.
And that could be, hopefully will.
If the algorithm works, this is how it should work.
So that's what it's meant to do anyway, yeah. And one of them might be a video for a show called Survive, which is a new show that we're doing. It's going to be coming out every week, kind of midweek. It'll start off on our Instagram page where we'll be posting about the options for it. And it's about a 10-minute, some of the episodes we've done so far, about 10 minutes long. And we pick 4 fictional characters. And the game is that the 3 of them are trying to kill you, while one of them has to keep you alive for 24 hours in a small abandoned town. And me and Laura can pick which one of the 4 options that we have would keep, which we would choose to keep us alive, and have a bit of banter and a bit of crack and a bit of fun while we're talking about it too. But if you're interested in watching that show, it's like we said, it's only about 10 minutes every week. And on probably Monday or Tuesday each week on our Instagram page, we will be posting which are the 4 options that we're going to be talking about. And I think in this week's episode, we might be talking about a couple of MCU characters. So, you know, check out, hit the bell button that there is somewhere on the screen. And I am Instagram. I don't know if that gives you an option to let you know when we post or whatever, but if it does, you know, find it and hit that button too. Why not? Keep up to date with all things part-time lazy watchers. We're going to add that part in as well. And hit the subscribe button on this thing as well, on the Instagram. Or not where are we now? YouTube. And anywhere else you can hit subscribe. Anywhere you see our name with a button underneath it, unless it's unsubscribe, press that button.
Brilliant.
I think that just about covers all the promos for the first
nice and
3 minutes of the show.
Well, that's what the crowd's here for. They're here for the promos. Like, you know, they're going to start dropping off after the promos, but they're all here for the tasty piece of meat that is the promos at the start of the episode.
Exactly. You know, you got to test out where to put these, because if you put it in the middle, people might not reach that far. Everybody might not reach that far. But if you put it at the beginning, people might be like, "Oh, fucking promo already? I'm leaving." So they might leave already. So we might have no listeners for the rest of the episode.
I'm okay with
that. You know what? It's probably only Jamie. Good old Jamie.
It's always Jamie, and he's made to listen to it because he's he's done some horrible crime, and he's been made to listen to this. And
we have him strapped to a chair in his bedroom, and he listens to us all the time.
I will say that I don't have that.
Not a chair in my bedroom, just in his own bedroom.
Just in case.
All right. Anyway, let's get into some trailer talk. So over the last 2 weeks, there have been a few trailers that have been released that look kind of interesting. We've had it every time we get towards the end of the month. Netflix just drop like 3 or 4 trailers for everything that's coming out in August, which is just great because it's just like no waiting, no messing around. One of them actually, I didn't put it on our watch list for August. We just posted that. We just posted our top 4 things you should watch on our Instagram page. You should really be subscribed to our Instagram page. There's a lot of good stuff there. But one I didn't put on the list, which I really wish I did now, is Anelka, Misunderstood. So this is for any of the football fans out there. I noticed that Netflix do a couple of, like, when I say football, I mean soccer, lads. Come on, like actual football, not that American egg stuff. They don't do too many like football documentaries, but I think it's Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime have loads
Amazon
of good
Prime
football
have
documentaries.
a lot of them as well when they have contracts with certain clubs. So they have like the Man City one, they've one about Brazil, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But Netflix have really good dramatical ones. So like Sunderland Till I Die, which is like one of the best kind of football series on like anything, because it's just pure drama and pure heartbreak. Then they done a Maradona documentary as well. I think it's Maradona in Mexico, where he goes to coach a club in like the cocaine capital of the world, and hijinks ensues. But this one looks super fucking interesting. I suppose the only reason why a lot of people might be put off by it is because it's in a different language. It's in stinky French. So it is
not all the time though.
Some of the time, but like
stinky
French. I think, but I do think if anyone has any sort of interest in football or the Premier League, I think the majority of people, unless you're maybe 12 or 13 years old, know who Nicolas Anelka is. He's played for 16 different clubs throughout his career. He's such a maverick, and he's such a clinical, probably one of the most underrated strikers of his generation, because he was such a bit of a shithouse as well, and ended up getting kind of more press for being a bit of a nuisance more so than anything else as well. I love Anelka, and as soon as I saw this, I'm like, oh, I'd love to know a bit more, because the only parts I already know about Anelka is obviously his time at Chelsea, his time at Real Madrid, and then his subsequent kind of like bust up with France at the World Cup after the Irish people, got cheated out of that World Cup, and then France decided to have a big row. But like, this looks super interesting. And again, Anelka isn't someone who always stands out to me in like the football landscape, but I'd be super interested to see like a story about his career. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's cool because while it does clearly seem to be focused on football, it's also more focused on the behind the scenes of all, because we all know about the crap that went down when they were meant to go to the World Cup. They fell apart, and Elka left and then didn't play international football again afterwards, like had a bust up with the manager. So I'll be very curious to see, like, I hope that it's, because obviously it's called Anelka Misunderstood, I hope that it's not just Anelka like the Last Dance, where it's just like Anelka's opinion. I think what the Last Dance done was it got a mixture of everyone's opinion, which was nice, even though it was still primarily,
I was about to say, it got a mixture
Jordan
of opinions, but it was still very much biased towards benefited out towards Michael. It'll be similar to this as well. And Didier Deschamps is not a good man either, like the manager of the French team. But I think if you got an unbiased view of this, I'd say there's problems on both sides, because it wasn't just Anelka who had issues at that World Cup. Golden Boy Thierry Henry as well, same sort of thing as well. Samuel Nasri never went back to play for France either as well. So like, that French team had its problems. So, and I don't really know what happened. So like, it'll be super interesting to see what the story is.
So definitely looking forward to it. Netflix also dropped a trailer for a new animated show. I hadn't heard of this at all, called Hoops. And I think we had it on our list. It's coming out on the 21st. The Anelka documentary is out on August 5th, which would be good to look forward to. So this Hoops animated documentary, or it's not a documentary, animated comedy, has Jake Johnson as the voice character in it, but it's basically about a show, or it's about a basketball coach in the 80s, I think it's set. And it's animated and it's R-rated, and like, he's just this super aggressive coach. I seen him do an interview on it, and basically the way Jake Johnson and the writer described it is like, the way coaches used to be just lunatics, like local level coaches of basketball used to be lunatics back in the day. They could get away with it because no one had cameras around and could see them or whatever. But he's like, most of them can be lunatics because like they might have been a good player in their day, but they're like, this guy is a terrible player, a terrible coach, and is a lunatic.
I love it. I love Jake Johnson as well. I saw the trailer, and the trailer is only like one kind of mini scene, but it kind of, I suppose it encapsulates what the show is about. Like, it shows that he's trying to teach him how to do a free throw, and then it breaks down to like, he just wants to make the free throw so like they can end session, and then he just doesn't make the free throw ever as well. But I like Jake Johnson. It took me a few minutes to figure out whose voice it was as well. The animation style, it reminds me of like Bob's Burgers or F is for Family or something like that as well. And they're both similar, I suppose, in terms of I don't think Bob's Burgers is R-rated, but F is for Family certainly is R-rated as well. So like, if it follows that sort of direction, it could be absolutely hilarious. So I like the look and feel of this.
Yeah, same. It's one of those like I think like R-rated comedies or
Mm.
animated comedies seem to be all the thing now. So I feel like we're going to get a lot of them that'll come along,
Mm.
and only certain ones will make it. Like everyone's going for that like Rick and Morty,
Yeah.
like F's for Family type vibe now.
Mm-hmm.
This is very much it's kind of a similar animated style to Rick and Morty, but also like the comedy style of an F is for Family. So
Yeah.
I'm curious to see kind of where it lands and if it ends up being popular.
And
But
there's a heyday of it now on Netflix as well. Like as you mentioned, F for Families there as well. Like a Big Mouth as well as they're kind of all R rated as well. And then also following in the footsteps of like the OGs of that now in like whatever the last 10, 20 years, like being like Family Guy and American Dad and stuff. So like there's always been a good kind of precedent set for it. So anytime these come out, I just have good faith in them as well. Because even if they're terrible, they're usually not that bad. Like they're still watchable to have in the background. So
yeah.
even if this show isn't like of the same standard as the other ones I mentioned, it'll definitely be watchable. Like you'd probably get away with watching a full season just without even noticing it. So
yeah. And speaking of animated comedies and kind of R-rated animated comedies, one of the shows that I have loved over the last couple of years, but then over the last like 10 years, but then the last like 2 years, it's just been absolute trash, is Archer. Archer is such a good, like their animation style is just so cool.
Yeah.
And the comedy and stuff they had in. Anyone that hasn't watched Archer, I'd highly recommend going and watching like the first 5 seasons. It's really good. But the last couple of seasons have gone completely downhill because basically in the first 5 seasons he's like a secret spy and they work for this spy organization called ISIS, which clearly they had to change.
This was before ISIS became
this is before the actual ISIS. Yeah, but every subsequent season has like just taken on a different theme. Like they've been drug runners in one, they've been in the cartel in one, they've been in I don't know like a dreamland in one. Like it's gone super ridiculous. And the really cool part about it was the complete spoof of the spy world beforehand. So they just released a trailer at Comic-Con at Home, which we'll get to that crap in a minute. But they just released a trailer for the new season that's coming out in September, and they're going back to being spies and having a spy organization again. So this is the first time that I've actually wanted to watch Archer again in years. Like I've always wanted to watch it, but I'm like, it's just crap now.
I never got out of Archer, which is the thing. I just stopped watching it. Like as in I noticed the quality was getting less and less. And I think the last one I saw was like I watched the Miami Vice one, and then there was another one after it, I think. And then I can't even tell you what happened in it really as well. And then I just never got back into it again. I think they're all on Netflix now as well, so I might make it my business to go back and watch some of those episodes that I missed out on. But I saw this trailer and I'm like, I love this show. Like I can't remember why I stopped watching. So like I'm dead excited to get back into it. And maybe it's just been the choice for like shows in the last couple of years have just been better than Archer. And I kind of forgot about it, but like I'm actually dead excited to get back into Archer now because like I have essentially 5 seasons now to catch up on. So happy at it.
That's the thing that's the point I'm making, is that like I would maybe skip a couple of them because they're just boring.
Ugh.
Like it's trying to do the same comedy but like in a different setting. Like one of them, it's like he's in a coma for the entire season, so it's all set in his mind where he's in like the 80s like noir or like 50s noir kind of story, and it's just like this is just not funny and it's kind of stupid. And like it just all the characters were like voicing different versions of themselves, and it was just like, this is not what I want. Like I want to see them as just went completely exactly. So same as yourself, I can't wait to actually get back into it, and I hope it goes back to its glory because I know it's ending. I think this is the final season of it. So I hope it ends on a high note. But like we were just talking about Comic-Con at Home, we just mentioned there that they dropped that trailer at it. Funnily enough, Lorcan, Comic-Con at Home happened last weekend.
Yeah, and there was so much buzz about it. Like
same weekend,
everyone couldn't talk about it.
Yeah, the same weekend we both decided there's no news, so we're just not going to do an episode because we're busy and there's no other like subsequent news. Like how bad was that Comic-Con at Home? Like I know Marvel didn't go to it, DC didn't go to it, Star Wars didn't go to it, so there wasn't really many big studio announcements anyway. But the fact that they still had nothing really worth talking about.
And like, apparently it cost them a decent amount of money as well. So like they pumped money into it, but like no one knew it was on. There was no advertising for it, and nothing really came out of it. Like maybe some of these trailers that we're talking about came from it, but I couldn't even tell you if they did or not. So like that shows the impact that it had. Like it's just such a failure, isn't it? As well, considering that Comic-Con used to be just the, I don't know, like this mecca of news, even just like 3 years ago. Even like last year, actually, as well, there was still some decent
last year was huge,
So like, it's a bit sad, isn't it? Actually,
like obviously the fact that like it couldn't happen in person, like that's obviously a big deal. that like it's going to take away a huge amount of the buzz just from people being there and tweeting about it. Like that creates so much buzz online.
Yeah.
But like obviously DC are doing their own event, so they're not going to announce anything at it. So there's one big thing. Marvel don't really have anything big to announce, like in terms of MCU type stuff and the shows. So they're not doing anything. Like we said, Star Wars has nothing. They've cancelled Star Wars Celebration for another 2 years, so they have literally nothing to talk about. So there was never going to be any big announcements. But like it was just kind of weird that like you're having this event, you're trying to like they had panels for like the guy like the hoops for example had like Jake Johnson and the guy the writer talking about it, but like there was just nothing worth being like, oh my god, this happened this weekend. It was just a lot of like, hey, here's something you know is coming, and here's the people talking about it. It's
and no one has mastered that kind of fun event like done over Zoom these days yet. Like no one I feel has mastered like the energy. I watched parts of the BAFTA there the other night as well, and it's kind of embarrassing. So because people are trying to do it, and like these are people who are like nominated for like best male and best female comedy shows, and even they're failing really hard at trying to make it fun and funny. And I'm just like, oh, like no one's done it well. So I'm not going to spend my evening looking at like the what do you call it, the cast panel for Hoops. You know what I mean? Like I'll watch the trailer and go, yeah, I'll probably watch that, but I'm not sitting down for an hour watching Jake Johnson talk about how he done 15 minutes of voice recording for this show that he doesn't understand. You know what I mean? I'm not doing that.
No interest in it.
Yeah.
But here's a trailer, a new trailer that dropped. So Marvel, like the MCU Marvel, like the big dogs weren't there, but the Marvel TV division that has subsequently been
the little chihuahuas.
Yeah, but this subsequently been like basically deleted. Like this studio no longer exists, but this show was created before the studio was kind of like gobbled up by Marvel Studios. But what they are releasing in the time being is this new show called Hellstrom, which is based off like a pretty good comic, the Hellstrom comic. I've not read specific Hellstrom comics, but I know the characters showing up in other stories that I have read.
I know nothing of this character at all.
Yeah,
I'm assuming it's biblical or weird like that.
Yeah, it's to do with hell, and the two characters I can't even remember, to be honest. If they're siblings, and it's like when they come together, their powers are stronger. But this trailer is just awful. Like there's nothing to show in it.
It's just like an old woman sitting in a bed going like, did you let him free? And she's like, I let him free. And it's like, who did you let free? You know who, whatever like that. I'm just like, what is going on here? For like this trailer is supposed to introduce what the plot and what the idea and why people should watch. And like, what the hell is this? Like I thought it was so bad and strange and awful.
Yeah, but it does not, like, if you watch it, I was watching, I was like, okay, where's the rest of it?
Yeah.
Like, this has shown us literally nothing. Like, I know these characters, but I'm still like, wait, which one? Is that who I think it is? Or, like...
How could you possibly not get the plot from the old woman sitting on the bed going, I let him out? And they're like, him? Yeah, him. Who's him? You know who him is.
But this is just like, you look at it and you're like, this looks like a TV show that was made in the 90s.
It looks like an episode of Supernatural, and a bad episode of Supernatural at that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it's so strange. It's so weird. It's such a, like, it's a good choice for a show, but like, if you're going to do it on a super low budget and like, it just looks weird. Like, I have no interest in watching it.
I feel like low budget TV shows have mastered how to do like VFX for fire. So like, they're just like, well, if the only thing we really have to show here is blood, fire, and like someone moving very fast and cutting someone, we can do that for a super cheap budget. So they've picked this character solely on that, and it's just going to be awful. Yeah, like this is no legs.
Yeah, when they announced it, like this was meant to, I think it's coming out in Hulu and something else, but they announced this, or maybe it's on FX, I can't even remember. They announced this show, and then they were like, they're going to do a Ghost Rider series that we heard about, and they're going to do a couple of other and like cross them over. But then obviously, like we said, Marvel Studios and Kevin Feige got control of everything, the whole division. So they basically like cancelled everything that was upcoming, like the Runaways and stuff was cancelled and finished, and all those shows. But they had gone into production on this already. So like all the shows that were meant to surround this had been cancelled too. So I'm almost certain this is going to be cancelled after the first season, if it hasn't already been cancelled. Like, I'm just curious as like, well, I wonder, was this how they were going to make it anyway? Or is it just like, lads, look, nothing's happening. We've shot 6 episodes, so we're just going to fuck it, go on scene or go on set and do whatever you want for the last 5, and we'll just cut it all together. Yeah. Like, I wonder how much of it they had like put their heart and soul into before they were just like, it doesn't matter.
It'll be interesting. It'll definitely be interesting to see like if it tapers off. So if the first 4 episodes have a certain style and like, I don't know, a little bit of body about them, and then the last 4 are just like just brutal. It'd be just super interesting to see if like any character motivations change like that. I suppose
Yeah.
I think that's the only reason I would probably watch this show, to see if I can notice like when the point happened, when like the news broke that they just weren't getting another season, or like nothing was happening with this, and see if the budget got cut. Like it'd be just super interesting.
Yeah, be curious to see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, yeah, that's about the most of the stuff, the most of the news that came out of Comic-Con. Most of the news that came out of Comic-Con.
That was more way more entertainment than Comic-Con. That club was more entertaining than the entire panel sets.
Yeah, anyway, moving on. In the world of movies, we know everything's been pushed. We know everything's been cancelled. We know everything. There's going to be 150 million movies in 2021 because that's where they've all been pushed to. But something has been holding strong, and that is Christopher Nolan saying he wants to release his movie.
I still don't think this is
year.
coming out.
Okay, so we're talking about Tenet. So surely people have seen the news now if you're listening to this. But Tenet, Christopher Nolan's upcoming film, was due to be released in July, and it was going to be the one film that didn't get pushed. It was going to be the one film holding strong.
It was going to come out regardless.
Yeah, we're coming out. The cinemas can still open. We're going to be the first movie you see when you come back to theaters. And then, certain countries in the world couldn't get their shit together and
couldn't wear masks.
It got pushed again, and we're all obviously look, theaters are closed everywhere, so it's not just we can blame certain countries, but all of us have the part to play in it. But anyway, it got pushed to the end of July, and then we were saying, okay, that's going to be it. It got pushed again, and it was taken off the release date. We didn't have a release date for Tenet, so we didn't know when it was going to drop. And now we've been told August, is it 26th? Yes, August 26th. It's going to release internationally. So that means us here in Ireland, we're going to get it. And then it's going to release on September 3rd in the US in certain theaters. So in certain places that it can open. So I know, I'm pretty sure we can start booking tickets for this now in Ireland to go see it on August 26th.
I think we can, but I'm still so dubious about that. I don't know. It's purely still down to the situation of whatever happens in the world. If we're back in another lockdown at that time, it just won't happen. It just definitely won't happen. And America's, to be honest with you, America's in such a bad place at the minute that by the time the 3rd of September rolls around, it'll have to be better. Comparatively to where we're at the minute, it'll have to be better. Across Europe, sure, I think the majority of us have our shit together, so it might still come out, but it'll just be super interesting to see what happens, because I think as soon as that comes out, I think this will be one of the most torrented movies of all time, because I think someone's going to get their hands on some sort of a copy. Too many people are going to be afraid to go to the cinema, and it's going to be it's a Christopher Nolan film. This is the reason why people will leave to go to a cinema. This is along the same lines as a Marvel or a DC movie that would release, or a Star Wars movie that would release, that there'll be turns for anyway. But because so many people aren't going to be able to go, or their country is just shut down so they can't go, this is going to be it's just going to be interesting to see what tack to take on this, because they obviously don't want to lose money, and they can't lose money on this, but by releasing it the way they are under these circumstances, they're gonna lose money. So this is just in itself, this is I don't know, entertaining just to see what happens. I don't know how you feel about that, but I feel like it's gonna probably go. I think it's gonna be pushed again.
No, I think this is the one. I think this is the one, because they've done such a big push on it, and cinemas are already open in Ireland. They're already showing Inception's in playing in theaters. The Dark Knight was in a couple of theaters there. They're already showing movies, so they have proved that they can open and do it safely. So it's really a case of theaters around Europe making sure that they can open safely, and obviously it's up to the fact that the world doesn't turn to shit all of a sudden again. That all the countries don't have a huge spike again. But if I think the way they're looking at it is if everyone stays on the trajectory that we're on, they should be fit to open it internationally in most countries and do the best they possibly could given the situation. Because clearly it's just whatever it is with Chris Nolan and WB, they just do not want to push this movie by a year. And I feel now at this stage, they've made such a big deal that this is the movie you're going to see when you go back to the theater, that they can't. That even if they push it from this date, it's going to be pushed to September 25th. That's the one. That's the one, and we're all going to get hyped again for that day. I feel it's going to be the movie we go back to theaters to see, and I'm just hoping that it is August, that it is the end of this month. So yeah, I don't know. And like they're not going to make even a quarter of the money they would have made had they pushed it next year.
Mm-hmm.
But because like a Christopher Nolan movie, when it can open all around the US, it's going to make about 100 million plus in opening weekend. Whereas like opening select theaters, and like they're not going to make 20 million. I'd be surprised by if they made that in the US like opening weekend. Now internationally, God only knows, because I don't know how many theaters are going to be open in each country. So like you've no even estimate of how much it's going to make. So like I don't know if at this point they're like trying to make as much money as they can, or if they're just like, let's just be the first one to do it. Let's be the one that people remember as like that got us back to the movies. And like, because I'd imagine what they'll probably do is there's going to be no other movies playing, really, like very, very few new movies. True. So it's going to be in every screen that can possibly be opened. So it's still going to make money that way. And they're probably going to leave this in theaters for like weeks and weeks.
Well, see, that's it. Like, I do think the longevity of this will be the thing. I think it'll be in theaters for like even longer than weeks. I think it'll be in theater for months. Like, I really do. Like, until there's new stuff out, I think cinemas are like, the way they're going to make money from this is probably cinemas listing them as well. So like, you know, cinemas basically keeping it in there for as long as they possibly can to get people in. Because like, if you look at screenings, there's going to have to be half or quarter screenings. So like, that'll already push it out. And then because there'll be no new films coming out over that period, well, depending on the precedent set by Tenet. Like, yeah, like this is, it's just going to be like, yeah, like there's no point in speculating until it comes closer. I'll probably go and watch it. Maybe not opening weekend, but I think I'll watch it probably before the start of September. So around
I'll be seeing that as soon as I possibly can.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get back to the theater. I'm not one of these people who are like, oh my God, just let me back to the cinema. I just want to have a life again. Like, all right, get over it. Yeah. Like, this is the way the world is now. Totally. But I'm also like, when I can go safely, like I can't. It's excited.
Christopher Nolan film, like, you know, like this is one that you have to see in the cinema. Like, I've seen all his films in the cinema, so like I'm gonna have to see this one. So
yeah. And also, I think at the moment, New Mutants is scheduled to come out like either the same weekend or the weekend after. Like now, just I think they're just like, we just got to release this in the stage regardless. So it's coming out around there soon. So I'm looking forward to like. Two in a row, like imagine 2 weekends in a row going to the cinema.
That would be nice.
That's normal, huh? So yeah, like in our little bubble, that's what I'm excited for, is going back to see that. So yeah, we'll see if it actually happens, and if it does, sure, you might as well subscribe to our channels for upcoming reviews and opinions on it.
Nice.
Cool. Let's move on to some TV news. So like we said at Comic-Con at home last week, there wasn't really much. There was a couple of trailers and stuff that dropped, but another trailer that we didn't put in the trailer section because we wanted to talk about it here is, and you actually haven't watched this yet, have you?
I watched it just there before this started.
Okay.
Yeah.
So DC have their animated universe where they do a lot of really, they used to do a lot of really good animated movies, but nowadays they're kind of all a bit meh. They're not great. And what they're doing now is they're trying to do an interactive movie. Which is obviously like Netflix done it with Bandersnatch, and that whatever your man's name is,
the Bear Grylls one, where it's like you died of sickness or something like that from eating too many rats. I made him die after the second episode. It was such a weird, like, I think we talked about it at the time as well, but like there was a weird underlying story of like Bear Grylls saving hostages or something like that. And I was like, what is this?
Oh, I didn't. I never watched it or never played it.
It was bad.
What is that kind of watching, playing? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Suffering.
Yeah, suffering. Yeah. So DC have now tried to get into this world of interactive movies, and they're doing a take on Death in the Family, which is the Batman story where Robin was killed by the Joker, obviously. So this is one of the first times in comic book writing history where what they actually done was they wrote the issue before it where Jason Todd, who was Robin at the time, was captured by the Joker, and basically you could write in to the comics agents, like to our DC, and be either vote for him to live or vote for him to die, vote for him to survive or to be killed by the Joker. And being the public that we were, people voted for him to die.
Isn't that like allegedly as well, where they kind of found out that they were always going to kill him or something along those lines?
Yeah, there's rumors that like the vote was always going to be the fact that the Joker killed Robin. But anyway, that's the way it was at the time. So what they're doing now is they're actually doing an interactive movie basically along the same lines where you have choices as a character in it. So essentially you can choose if he is killed by the Joker or if he isn't. And obviously in the story we know that if he is killed by the Joker, he turns into Red Hood. So I'm guessing then if he's not killed, how does that go, or what way does the story go?
There's another so like the way the story is, like I have theories. The way they show it in this is that they have Dick Grayson Robin as well there at the same time, or something along those lines, or I can't remember who it is, but they have him there as well while Jason Todd Robin's locked up. So I have a feeling that if Jason Todd survives, something happens to Dick Grayson Robin, and then he becomes like there's still going to be a Red Hood in it because like that's your starting point of the film as well. And there's three choices as well, which is really weird. So like I wonder what the case is where there'll be three Red Hoods, or how many times do you do this? Because there's a lot in this, and like if you change that one thing where Jason Todd survives at the start, does he still become Red Hood at some stage? Like, you know, like it's so weird. Like, I don't know what they're going to take with this. I'm actually very interested in this because I love the Red Hood as a character. I love Dead as a Family as well as a series. So it'll just be interesting to say, yeah, if you took the other direction, what would actually happen as well? Because like, yeah, like it'll just be fun. It'd be fun to see what the story is.
Yeah, I definitely am on a different page to you because I just think this
Really?
looks like absolute shite.
I like again. It's such a weird gimmick thing, but like I'm just like so that like that initial choice. If you choose to save Jason and he is saved, where do you go from there? Like because
But it's not
there
like
has to be a Red Hood.
it's like Bandersnatch in terms of like there's going to be loads of like you make a lot of choices along the way. It's
So
not like
yeah,
you make one
do you
choice
think if
every
he
time.
survives, that'll be your kind of your opt out at the start, where you're just like, oh, they live happily ever after, and then you go back to the start again, so you can make the choice where he dies and then becomes that. Yeah,
No,
it
but
probably will.
I don't know what way they're taking it. What looks weird about
Mm,
what got me straight away and kind of got me antsy from the very beginning
mm.
was the footage that they have in it is actual footage from the DC animated movie they've done before
Which
under
is
the Red
great.
Hood, which is amazing.
Yeah,
But then they have like that's the footage of like Jason Todd being beaten by the Joker, and I'm like, because I
mm.
know I've seen that so many times. That
Same.
is the exact footage that you like the same footage from it. But then you've got other footage with this new animated Robin, and I'm like, well, that looks different now, and clearly it's not in
Mhm.
the other one. So this is must be like if you take a different option. But I'm like, it kind of seems to me like they're being a little bit lazy if they're just
Yeah,
taking older footage and cutting that together with a different movie, and then be like, oh, we're just gonna put like I don't know. It just the whole from the moment I watched it, I was just like, oh, I don't like the fact that you're using footage from this movie that I love,
yeah.
and then you're doing this new thing with it. And not that I don't want you to do a new thing, like, dude, that's kind of cool, but it just seems like, ugh, I don't know. I can't put me. I just think it's weird. I'm just not really that into it.
Yeah, like again, I see where you're coming from as well, but I'm just I don't know, I'm kind of interested by this. Like I like Bandersnatch. I'm kind of one of those weird people who thought it was good. So or thought it was okay anyway as well. It's just like an interesting idea. So like I'm interested to see how this goes. I didn't really realize that yeah, they probably use the same animation. So it probably is lazy. It probably is like if you just make those choices, it's the exact same film. And then if you make choices outside of that, they're like, you know, what's that one in Bandersnatch where you choose to jump off the roof so you just die? You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And then the movie ends. So it's probably similar to that. That if you just make those wrong, like quote unquote wrong choices, it just leaps you back into the choice it wants you to make. So yeah, it'll just be it'll be weird and fun. Like I am actually looking forward to this. So yeah, yeah,
I'm actually curious now if you try and play through it the exact way the story goes in the animated film Under the
yeah.
Red Hood to see does it like is that exactly how
I'd
it
say
just
almost certainly.
so that. But yeah, that's coming out sometime.
At some
Don't
stage
have a
somewhere.
date. It's coming out this year at some stage though, because usually when they drop a trailer, it's going out pretty soon.
Yeah.
Um, Another animated series that we heard is coming out.
Mm.
Netflix have teamed up with Splinter Cell.
Yeah.
The creators of Splinter Cell, the Tom Clancy series, obviously, and the very popular video game franchise, which just needs a new game.
Yeah,
It just feels a
badly.
new game.
It's a great series as well. So
It's such a good game series. Like it's literally one of the first ever good stealth
yeah.
games. That ate alongside like Metal Gear Solid and stuff
Mhm.
like that. But yeah, so what is happening is they're making an anime series based on Splinter Cell. And Derek Kolstad, who's the writer of the John Wick franchise, so he's wrote all
Mm.
of the John Wick films. And he is on as a writer and producer, and they've already greenlit it for 2 seasons with 16 episodes, which I'm assuming means 8 episodes each.
Nice.
But I know Netflix have really been
They're going
like
hard
diving
at the
into the
animes,
anime.
aren't they? Because like
They really
between
have.
this Pacific Rim, the Castlevania ones are doing at the minute, and then lots of other original series. Isn't there word them doing a new Akira series as well, or something along those lines?
Oh, there was something in it. They're doing the anime for Cyberpunk 2077.
Cyberpunk as well, yeah. So like
Um,
they're going hard with all these adaptations. So like
yeah.
I actually think a Splinter Cell animated series would be really cool. Actually, like
Oh yeah.
that whole look and feel could be awesome. Like like I love the look and visual feel of the Splinter Cell games with like the was it the night kind of seeking mask or whatever like that with the three different
Yeah, the
things on it
three
and the
green.
luminous green. Like I think that as an aesthetic would look amazing as an anime series as well. So be very fun to actually see what the crack is. And then if you have like Derek Kolstad on there as well, I'm sure the action will be really interesting as well. So yeah, this could be weird and fun. But like Netflix have like their track record for anime shows are, I think they're hit and miss for the most part. But like I love how they're like, I don't know, just coming up with something new and original. So like yeah, I'm all about this.
Yeah, it does look cool, and like you said, like there is just so much.
Mm-hmm.
There's so much choice for, or so much opportunity there to make like a really cool
Mm-hmm.
series, and like the visuals could be class, and even just in terms of like the way the gameplay is, like that just kind of suits. It
Yeah.
could work really well in like an anime style. So yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. It is just
Mm-hmm.
another one of those things though, where like Ubisoft just keep. It's like they're just loaning out Splinter Cell, like because he keeps showing up at like he showed up in what was the other the Ghost Recon? Like he showed up in Ghost Recon
Oh
as
yeah.
like a DLC playable character,
Huh.
and like they keep just having him randomly pop up in different game franchises, and I'm like, why are you not just like if you keep using him everywhere else? Clearly, people like him, and clearly people like this franchise. Like
Yeah.
we're all very excited about this anime series. It's just one of those things where like it's when they keep loaning out characters to do other things. Where I'm like, just make another Splinter Cell game, though. That's what we really want.
It's true.
Like, I'm excited for this show, but I'd be more excited for this show if you were like, "Hey, we're doing a new game, and also Netflix are doing an anime." Then I'd be like, "Yes, unreal." Um, but I'm curious now to see if they actually get. I'm sure they will. Get what's his name, Michael Ironside, back to play Sam Fisher. So he's
Mm-hmm.
the voice actor for Sam Fisher, the main guy in it. And he's just like they switched them up for I think it was Splinter Cell Blacklist. They got a new guy in to do the voice, and like all a lot of fans just lost their shit. They're like, it's not the same person. So I can't imagine they if they do an animated series and they don't get Michael Ironside in to do the voice. I can only imagine how fans would react.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to this. Absolutely.
Mm.
You're a big fan of The Witcher, not
Me,
just the
little
series,
old me.
like everything about The Witcher. Have you
I
ever read
love The
the books?
Witcher. No, I bought the first book and I've bought one of the short stories books as well. I haven't read any of them yet though, but like I have them here. I'm a massive fan of this world and this universe as well. So yeah, all things Witcher. This guy right over here.
This guy right here. Well, Netflix again. To be fair, they are killing it in the genre
Mm,
game. They have also announced that they are doing a new prequel series, so an actual live action prequel series
nice.
to The Witcher. Obviously Henry Cavill's The Witcher, which came out last year, which is very popular
Hmm.
and was a great kind of interpretation on the work. So I'm looking forward to season 2 of that. But on top of season 2, they're doing this new prequel series. It's going to be a limited series, which is great. It's just going to be 6 episodes,
Hmm.
one and done story. But it's going to be set like I don't know, hundreds, maybe thousands of years. I can't remember what it is,
Oh,
but I think it is like
could be
over a
big.
thousand years before, and it's going to tell the story of. I think it's the history of the Elven civilization before its fall,
Hmm.
and reveal the apparently the lost history of the first Witcher.
That sounds super interesting. Like again, I feel like I probably know parts of this from like I don't know, going on YouTube and going on deep dives about it when I got really into The Witcher for the first time around. But I couldn't tell you like the whole story about it. It's like I know like the history of the elven kind of side of things is kind of like looked at a little bit on the show and then a little bit more in the games because the Wild Hunt from the third game, the third Witcher game, they are elves and they're from their own kind of land and there's this whole thing about like different dimensions and yeah, like it's supposed to be really good and really kind of interesting as well. But then the Witchers are like a completely different breed of things that happened around that time because they're just normal kids who they inject like mutagens into as well and change them really. But it'll be super super interesting. Like again, I thought that if they were going to go a direction with The Witcher, they'd go back maybe a generation beforehand to Vesemir and then do the Mark Hamill stuff, because there was those like that word that Mark Hamill is going to play Vesemir. I can't actually remember if that's confirmed or not as well, but he certainly wants to do it as well. So there was that rumor that there was going to be something along those lines. But I'm way more interested about getting like a really, really old prequel to this like world, and then see where it goes from there. Because like there's a lot of old magic and that type of thing and interdimensional things that would be just super, super, super interesting to see. So I actually don't know a whole heap about this, but like I'd be stoked to see this. This could be like another Game of Thrones type of thing.
Yeah, well, obviously that's what they're kind of going for with this world. Like every show that's in any way close to Game of Thrones, everyone's like, "Oh, it could be the new Game of Thrones," and
it could be.
I think it is cool that they're kind of building out this universe, though. Even if it is, and what I really love about the fact is that they're just like, it's just a once-off story.
Yeah,
it's 6 episodes, limited series. We're not going for 10 seasons or anything like that. It's just that's the story, because their ongoing series is obviously going to be the Henry Cavill-led Witcher series. So I'm curious. The only thing I'm curious now to see is like, obviously it's going to show the first Witcher, but I wonder, are they going to get like a big name in, and we're going to have like 2 big name Witchers on screen, obviously not at the same time, but like on like on 2 different series kind of going at the same time.
Like if it's the story of the first Witcher, it probably wouldn't be like, it'd be similar, I suppose, in tone for the most part, but like it wouldn't be the same, because like the traditional Witcher setup of like Geralt's one and the one we're following as well probably would be a lot different than the first Witcher, because the Witchers wouldn't even be established or anything along those lines, and the stories could be completely different, but tonally it'd be the same. But yeah, good point. Like it might be a bit confusing, if we're on at the same time.
Yeah, how they kind of market it, or how they kind of push it, or like how they'll be set. Like, will they be set? Like, will they come out the same year, or will they kind of be hyping each other up, or what will it kind of work?
Because they'll do multiple seasons of The Witcher. Like, it's not as if like they're only planning on doing 2-3 seasons of Henry Cavill's Witcher and then they'll move on to this. They'll milk the Witcher series from Henry Cavill for as long as they can, and they've only scratched the surface with the first season. There's so much more they can go into. So yeah, it'd be very, very interesting to see which direction to go with this.
Yeah, sweet. So yeah, just Netflix is still like
killing it.
We've had all the streaming services popped up just at the right time for lockdown, but none of them were prepared in terms of content. So like we've had HBO's come out to be like, "Hey, we're here," and all the shows we were planning on making, all kind of got put on pause.
Oh no!
Yeah,
or Apple TV. Hey, there's this expensive service and we have 3 shows.
Yeah,
and that's
well, to be fair, it only costs like €4, and you get it free. Like I have it free because I got a new phone, so it's pretty grand. But I haven't watched it once. I've watched one series on it, and I didn't like it. So
did you like is it the morning show you watched, or was it?
I actually watched the Mythic Quest.
Mythic Quest.
The what's his name, Rob McElhenney from All Is Sunny.
Yeah,
and it's meh.
Fair enough.
But yeah, like it's just gas how like all these streaming services are popping up. Even Disney Plus, so we're like, oh, we're meant to have loads of shows, but lockdown, and now we'll be whereas Netflix is still week after week, month after month, just pumping out content and planning even more. So they're still just the king of it. There's no one getting close to it. Last bit of news before we move on to our Ghost of Tsushima opinions so far. Marvel's Avengers game that's coming out. I think it's in September, so it's very close. It's crazy. It's only a month away. It's fair to say we've kind of poo-pooed on it a little bit.
I'm still poo-pooing on it for the most part. Like I'm just not buzzed or hyped for it. I think this is going to be a colossal failure. Like the only part that I think it looks good is the Captain Marvel, or the Captain Marvel, isn't it? Or Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel. It's the only part that I think looks interesting. I think everything else looks not good, and I'm not excited for this game. I'm still going to pay premium dollar for it right up front. I'm going to sit in, I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to complain about it. And I know what you're going to talk about. You're going to talk about Hawkeye, and that looks interesting, but I still am not excited, not in the slightest.
Did you watch? So they had another round table, war table is what they're calling it. So they had 17 more minutes where they went through like basically what's going to be in the beta, but also showed more of the gameplay. And anyone that listens to the last episode knows that I had some shaky opinions on it, and I'm still not totally blown away by it, or I still don't think it's going to be class. But they've got me a little bit more on board in terms of like, because they showed even more in terms of like your customization, how you can play as characters. And one of the cool things they said, like we obviously talked about how you can still play the whole thing in first person, in solo, like on your own, or you can have players join you. And the one cool thing that he did say that kind of got me on board is that like certain levels you will play it with 4 players.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be yourself as like Captain Marvel, or sorry, Miss Marvel, and 3 other people, like one person playing as the Hulk. Like I could be playing as you, and you could be playing as Iron Man, your character of Iron Man or whatever.
Yeah.
And go and do this like section of the game. But if you don't play with if you want to play it solo, then your build on each one of those characters will be the ones in the game.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, like I could build my squad of 4 Avengers to have like similar power levels and similar skill sets, so they work well together.
Yeah.
And then when you go in there, they're all leveling up around you, which is like that sounds really cool. To be fair, like, I remember a couple of years ago we were talking about like, because at the time I think about 2 or 3 years ago, every game wanted to go online multiplayer.
Yeah.
That was the thing. It was like every game wants to be the next game. This is before Battle Royale. Every game wants to be the next game where it's all online and it's constantly you're paying for stuff. You're constantly they're constantly making money from you. You can't play it unless you're online. Like Need for Speed even had it at some stage where like you can't play this game unless you're connected to the internet. And solo players just hated that. It was like, no, we don't. But every game was trying it. And I remember, I think it was when the first Ghost Recon came out, not the first reboot of Ghost Recon came out, where it was the same thing, where it was like everything, the whole game is played with 4 players, and you can play it with 4 players, or you can play it solo, but you still have 3 3 players in your squad, or 3
but they're MP or they're AIs.
AIs in your team, so you can control the other AIs to do things you want. So you're still always in a squad, and that for me was one thing where I was like, "This is cool," because if any of my mates want to join in and we do a level together, we can. But then I can also just play it on my own because I don't want to play with anyone else at certain points of it. So I think this is kind of like almost trying to do that in a middle ground where they're like, "Hey, you can play this with your friends because hey, who doesn't want to go online and be Avengers with your mates and destroy places or whatever?" So that's cool. And it's just the more they've showed, the more I'm kind of like, actually, I'm kind of looking forward to it. I've just cut out the fact that it's going to be like Spider-Man or that kind of level.
Yeah, it's not going to be that level. Definitely not.
Not going to be anywhere near like a good high level solo single player game. Like that's just not what it is. So now that I've kind of got that out of my mind, I'm more looking at it like, you know what, actually this could be a bit of fun. I'm looking at it more like a Call of Duty game now than I am like playing a Spider-Man game, in the sense that like, hey, I can just go in, if any of my mates are online at the same time, we can go and do a few levels together. If they're not, I'll just head off with my own characters and do my thing. Like I'm not expecting a really class story because it's just not going to be, because of the way that its gameplay is.
Like it looks like it just doesn't look good. Like even for online, like, you know, those games that you mentioned, like the Call of Duties and stuff, like they flow nicer. It's just something about this game that doesn't flow well. I think it's because there's so many different characters that have different traits to do different things that you know, it would have been better if they had focused on just one, like your Spider-Man, and it's nailed. And like this is what we said last time that we talked about it, is that because there's so many things, it just doesn't gel well together at all. But like, you know, I think the best way to do it is to play it when it comes out, and then I'll make my opinion, because I think it's still good that we have someone like Hawkeye in this, because I think that is interesting, because I like the whole kind of the bow and arrow play as well. Like they've done it really well in Horizon Zero Dawn, and you know, that type of thing as well. So it could work really well. And again, I think the story might be really interesting, but like I'm just not pumped for it. Like, you know, I'm gonna play it, but I'm not pumped in the slightest.
Yeah, the weird, not the weird thing, but the interesting thing that now with this, like they've announced this, that Hawkeye is going to be in the game, but he's going to be the first DLC character.
Yeah, his individual story, and it shows how it lives on, isn't it? Like
kind of after so essentially you can play the full game and not play as Hawkeye, and you won't play as, like, you can play the full game, but then when they start dropping DLC content, he'll be the first character, and when he's dropped, he'll have his own story and his own levels you can go off and do. And they're basing a lot of it, the developers talked about, which I do like this, but again, you'll see how much it actually pays off. But that they're basing it off their version of Hawkeye, they're basing off Matt Fraction's run of I think it's my life is a weapon. And it's legitimately one of the best Hawkeye runs in years. It's so good, and it's been one of the best comic runs, to be honest, in the last like 5 or 10 years maybe. I don't know when it was released, but I love that one when I read it. And even just like his look, like they've got a street look for him that's just like picked up off the page and put on it, like from that comic run, like the art style and everything. So yeah, like it's I kind of like the fact that, like, I don't know how much it'll get me to go back in. Like when I finish the game, I wonder how, I'm just curious of how the story is. It a case of like you finish the story and here's DLC if you want to do it, or is it going to be a case of like you never finish the story? Like it's just because by the looks of it, they've got Hawkeye and 3 more characters that are going to be the DLC characters.
Yeah.
So whoever they are, like be it like Black Panther or Doctor Strange or whoever it is they pull into it. Like I'm just curious, is it going to be a case of like when they come into it, all of a sudden there's a new thing that you go and do, or is it like the story is still like you haven't at the end of the game you haven't fully taken down the villain, he's still out there, so you can still go off and continue doing these little bits and bobs. Like I'm just curious what way they're gonna.
I think we won't know until we actually play it as well. I think you're right. I think there might be some sort of lingering stuff from the main story because they have to keep it engaging somehow, or it could be the case as to, you know, they mentioned that like the way the game sets up is that there's that big attack that happens, and then, you know, Cap dies, and then it's a couple of years later. So it's like, what happened to these characters during that period? So it could be like, what happened to Clint during that period? What happened to whatever Doctor Strange or, you know, T'Challa or something like that during that period? So like maybe that's what they're following, and maybe that's how they get around it, so that there's still a satisfying ending to the first one. But like it'd be interesting to see what they do at the end of the day, and like. I'm definitely going to play it. I'm still kind of interested, but maybe mainly just on the story side than anything else. But like listen, you know, give it to me and we'll see how it goes. Just give me the game.
All right, we're not going to talk about it anymore until the game drops now.
Yeah. Which is coming soon, isn't it? It's coming in like
September.
September, start of September. So very close.
The beta is dropping this week. And that 70 minutes, the latest war table, they talked about everything. They're releasing so much in the beta, like more than any game ever drops in a beta. So I'm going to be very curious to see, like, because once people play the beta, like they can just talk about it. And,
like, talk about how clunky it feels.
Yeah,
I'm going to stop bitching about it. I'm going to stop bitching about it.
So I'm very curious to see like what people, because obviously between now and when the game releases, we're going to hear loads of people talking about it online that have played the beta. So I'm very curious to see, because that's going to either make or break this game in terms of like the amount of people that get it day one. So I'll be curious. I'm looking forward to seeing that. And sure, we'll probably be talking about that then before the actual beta. I'm definitely not going to play the beta, but I'm looking forward to hearing what people say about it. Coolio. That brings us on to our main topic then, because that is all of the newses that we have for the week. And like we said, the main topic for this week, we are going to be talking about Ghost of Tsushima, the latest PS4 game. We have both been playing it. We're both probably
about halfway or close to halfway.
I would say probably over halfway.
Oh, maybe
at the halfway mark.
At the halfway mark, I think.
So it's not a full review. And we're going to I'd say today we'll just go try non-spoilers as much as possible. There's nothing really we need to spoil, but we will be talking about gameplay. We will be talking about certain parts of the world and stuff. So if you haven't played Ghost of Tsushima and you want to go in completely blind, then, you know, you can tune out now, you can cut off now. But if you're curious on what our take on it is for the first half of it, we won't spoil anything or give it away too much. But we'll go into a few of our thoughts and our opinions and stuff.
Yeah. So what do you think of the game, Keith?
I'm enjoying it. So like we said, we're about halfway in, which is I've played it for.
So we've just started Act 2. So we're coming on to the second island, I suppose.
Yeah. Essentially, when you start the game, there's 2 parts of the island. Well, there's 2 islands.
There's 3 parts of the map essentially, and they're split into 3 acts.
Yeah. So we're just finishing that first part. Anyone that's played it, you'll know what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But for me, with playing this game, we've talked so much in the past about how we just want an Assassin's Creed game that's set in like Japan, where you can be a samurai or you can be a ninja. Like this hasn't got the ninja side of it really, because obviously ninjas and samurai are completely different things. But this is basically an Assassin's Creed game.
It's a better version of an Assassin's Creed game, I think. Yeah.
But like, it's like I hear the developers talking about it beforehand, and they said that with this game they looked at Red Dead Redemption as a huge inspiration, because they were like, what they done was they took like the Wild West and they basically made you feel like you were playing it. Like they done as much as they could to make you feel like you were part of that world. So they wanted to do that for like the samurai world and this world of Tsushima. And I feel like they've done that. But if anyone in that studio tells me they didn't look and do exactly what Assassin's Creed have been doing, they're flat out lying.
Yeah, because it's
exactly the same in certain points.
yeah, like completely. Like even the way they do the fog of the world for the map, the way they do the, the way the icons come up, and the icons are the same shiny gold as they were in like some of the other Assassin's Creed. The side quests that are similar-ish to Assassin's Creed, obviously just of a higher standard. It seems like a different studio got their hands on Assassin's Creed other than Ubisoft and
Yeah,
done a slightly better. No, it's definitely way better, I think, actually, in terms of versions. It's not as clunky. There definitely are glitches, and you showed me some of your glitches. But yeah, like I'm actually loving this game. Like, like at the very start, I was like, this is just like a good Assassin's Creed. And then I've got through parts of it. I'm like, I'm really enjoying just exploring this world. And there's been very few open world games in the longest period of time, bar maybe Red Dead, that and obviously The Witcher as well, that I've just like enjoyed exploring the world and going around and finding the little foxes or finding these areas where you can write like a haiku, or you go to the bamboo and you're kind of sharpening your sword and stuff like that. I just found that I love doing that type of thing, and the world is so dense and packed, and it makes sense, and it's beautiful, and the graphics look incredible. The story is quite good as well. So like in my eyes, I kind of was standing there watching. I'm like, this reminds me so much of The Witcher, and if it wasn't so bleak and depressing for 99.9% of the game, it would be the same as The Witcher almost. I feel, because I feel like the kind of side stories are just as strong as the ones you find in The Witcher. Like there's some amazing side character stories that kind of
mm,
run through it almost like a main story mode. But the only thing is that at least in The Witcher, some of them are lighthearted and it gives you a bit of brevity, The
yeah,
Witcher, whereas everything in this is wholly depressing. They're all so depressing. It's like you come across this person, is like, oh, my child has been killed, and now you have to go and find a killer. He has my sister, and then you go in, it's the sister's also dead, and you're like, oh, and you go back to the woman. She's like, you didn't save any of them, and he's like, you just need to fight back. And I'm just like, this is awful. This world
yeah,
is atrocious. I hate it.
yeah.
But yeah, like I'm really really enjoying this game. Like halfway through it, and like I feel like this is what good, like this is gonna be one of the games that I'm gonna play for as long as I can, and then just like do absolutely everything in it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, like I'm kind of on the same page in terms of like like I definitely enjoy the world. The world is beautiful. Like
Mm.
it visually it is like it's not as good as they tried to tell us it was going to be. Like
Oh
it's
no,
definitely
no, no!
but
It's
yeah,
not that, and it's not even on the same page as like a Red Dead Redemption either, which
yeah,
came out
yeah.
2 years beforehand. But it's still
Definitely.
good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's still definitely good. Um yeah, it's just weird. I found there's some parts of it that really kind of get me, and there's some parts that like don't, like just in terms of like the actual game itself, like it cuts the black an awful lot on the screen, which it's a weird thing with me now from playing games like God of War and Red Dead and
Yeah.
Spider-Man and stuff. The stories just flow. Like when you
Mm.
come up to a character, it doesn't go fade to black and then go into a cutscene.
Yeah.
Like when you come up to a character, the camera just goes in close to you and then the cutscene starts.
Mhm.
It's just different level of gaming where it's like, oh, it just pulled me out of the, like when it kept happening at the beginning, I was like,
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, this feels like a PS3 game. Like it keeps
Yeah.
cutting back. In saying that now, the loading time is absolutely zilch.
Yeah. It's
Like
great. Yeah.
if you actually die, like you can barely read the tip on the screen because it reloads you back into the game in like
Mm.
seconds, which is great. But it's more the actual like the cutscenes and stuff, and the cutscenes are absolute um, Assassin's Creed in terms of like
100%.
it's just like the cutscenes are, well, there's some cutscenes that are absolutely beautiful, that they like the main cutscenes with like the Mongol leader and with your uncle, and
Mhm.
some of the like the samurai duels look just
The
beautiful.
samurai duels in particular are some of my favorite parts of this entire series, or in
Mm,
this entire game. The samurai duels nearly make up for everything at this
yeah,
stage, because the world is beautiful in them, and the way they're set up and the way the action rolls. Oh, it's so good. But yeah, I
yeah,
see where you're coming from. Like, yeah, like I noticed that a good bit at the start where there's constantly cutting in and out. But I found that the more you go through the game, the more it kind of becomes a little bit more seamless.
yeah,
So it does that whole thing of, yeah, they like it starts maybe the sentence with them talking, and then you speak to them, and then it cuts, and then the conversation continues as you
mm,
kind of start to play, and it's not as bad. But yeah, like I like now that you mention it, I definitely noticed that at the start when there
yeah.
was just a lot of it. There was a lot of in and out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing, this is such a simple thing, but it just stood out to me so much in terms of like, I wouldn't say cutting corners, but just not
Yeah.
putting the detail into it. Is that there's a couple of parts that I've just gone through where you have to get to a boat or
Hmm.
come from a boat, and it's got no. like animation for you actually in a paddle boat.
Yeah.
Like what happens is you come over to the side of the water,
Hmm.
your character gets into the boat and then cuts the black
Yeah.
and plays the noise of you paddling a boat, and then all of a sudden your boat is at the other boat, like halfway to the ocean. And it's
Yeah.
like, why not just put like you're on an island surrounded by water? Like you
Yeah.
surely could have just made animation of your character in a boat. Like
And
it's
then
just
even to that point as well, the swimming animations are pretty poor as well the whole way
you
through
can't
it.
go
He
underwater.
just he
Like
just well, yeah, the underwater part it doesn't even do it like at all, and then
yeah,
the swimming it's more of a doggy paddle than anything else. So yeah,
yeah.
there's definitely issues with it.
But that's what I mean in terms of like at certain points it just kept feeling like a PS3 game that's
Hmm.
just been like upgraded because I'm like this is just so
Hmm.
it's such basic stuff that I take for granted in other games, but it stands out when
Hmm.
it's not in them. Then I
Yeah,
feel like
like
I'm cutting on it. I'm not. I don't mean the game's bad. It's just things that really stood out to me from a gaming perspective where I'm just so used to a different level now. I think at
yeah.
this stage.
Yeah, like
Um,
again, it doesn't bring anything new to the table, I don't think, really. Like
Apart
the
from the
fighting
combat,
mechanics are good as well, but like even then, yeah, well, actually, do you know what? The fighting combat is pretty revolutionary as well in the way that the stances work and the way you have to switch between them is actually quite good. But like outside of that, there's nothing. It doesn't bring anything massively new to the table, I suppose. Like not in the same way that other games have. But I think that was fine. Like I think the setting in itself was good enough, like as in to explore this and it's a real place and it's a real historical event for the most part.
yeah,
And yeah, like it's just interesting and I love Japan and I like the visual look of it and I like the mystique and kind of the potential magic in a lot of it as well, or the supernatural aspect of it is
yeah,
really interesting as well. So like I'm yeah, like I'm having a great old time, and
yeah.
I'm trying to take my time the whole way through it. So I don't even know if I'll have it finished next week. I'm trying to do all the side quests and
Yeah,
all the
I
small
definitely won't
things.
because I'm kind of
Yeah.
on a similar page to yourself. Not as I
Hmm.
won't do absolutely everything, but I'll do most of like the story stuff that I can do and the side quests and all that
Hmm.
kind of stuff. And it takes a long time to get through it all because like
Totally.
one thing that I do like about it, and I wish they had just gone whole hog on it, is that with the navigation around the map, obviously they've got the fog map, so where you go would unfogs the
Yeah.
map. But then when you do take out the bases, this is what I don't like. When you take out the bases,
Yeah.
it does pop thing on the map where the fog opens in that whole area, and
Mm.
then all the question marks pop up on the map, and I'm like, I don't want to know where they are. I want to find them because
Yeah.
what it does in the game so well at the beginning of it is that like it doesn't. You can't put a waypoint on the map. You
Yeah.
can put a waypoint, but what it is the wind guides you. So when you hit
I
a button
actually
on,
love that, by the way. I
yeah,
think that's excellent.
so the
Yeah.
wind guides you, so you kind of follow where the wind is blowing. So what's cool about that is that when you're going from place to place,
Hmm.
following the wind, all of a sudden, like you see a fox, and the foxes, if you follow them, they take you to a certain place. Or you see a
Hmm.
gold bird, and if you follow the gold bird, it takes you to a location that's important.
I have
And
an
that,
issue with the gold bird. The gold
yeah, so
bird, the physics of the gold bird is awful. It just crashes into buildings every now and again, and like it just disappears.
yeah,
So it
but
was,
it's not, but because it shows up just to take you to anything that's
yeah.
close to you sometimes.
Mhm.
But I love that fact that it's like at the beginning of the game, because you hadn't unlocked any devices or whatever,
Mhm.
you just kept stumbling upon things, and I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this is so cool!" And
Mhm.
like, I went to try and do a mission, and it took me like 4 hours because I kept getting stumbling upon other things
Yeah.
before I got. But then, as you take down the bases, all the question marks start popping up, and then it just feels like another game where I'm
Yeah.
going waypoint to waypoint. Okay, I need to do this one, I need to do that one, I need to do this one, and you're forgetting, like you're missing out on all the beautiful of the world because you're just going from place to place.
Yeah.
And like it's just, I really wish they had just, because they've got this really cool mechanic. I
Mhm.
wish they'd just been like, that's it for the whole game. Like you
Well, that
don't have,
hasn't really happened for me. Like, as in, if you free bases, like it only shows slightly in the immediate areas outside. Like, if you go into my map still has a lot of unfogged areas, especially in the first map as well. And the way I've kind of got around that is I've actually gone exploring. Like, I've put like a marker or the wind kind of marker, whatever like that, in the middle of the area that like is still fogged for me, and I'll wear the traveler gear because that helps to clear up the
yeah,
fog for like 20%, and then just like ride around that area for a bit as well. So like
yeah.
it hasn't massively happened to me yet, but unless you do some of the big bases, then it's like the immediate area around it. There tends to be like a hot spring or a fox den or something along those
Yeah, the
lines.
little question mark
Yeah,
pops
yeah,
up.
yeah.
I must actually go. I haven't even tried it. I must go in to see if you can just turn all that off. Because if you
You
can, I'll
probably
definitely.
can. I'd say you can.
That'd be
Yeah.
Yeah, I would recommend that for people if you're playing it for the
Mm.
first time. Like, just try it if you can. I don't know if you
Stumble
can, but
across everything. It makes it so much better. Yeah.
yeah, it's because it feels so much cooler when you're going through and you're like, oh, there's a
Mm.
fox. That means I can go to one of these things. Whereas if like, because what was happening to me towards the end of that first island
Yeah.
was I'd be going through it, going to where I know a question mark is, and then a gold bird would show up, and I'd be like, fuck off, bird. I know where I'm going. Like,
Yeah.
get out
Like
of
I
here.
can see the question mark.
Yeah, I know where I'm going. Or like
Yeah.
it kept annoying because the goldbirds just kept showing up. Or like when I was going to something else, the goldbird would show up, and I'm like, I know there's something there, bird. I'm doing something else. Like, leave me alone. And it just keeps flying in front of you. I'm like, I'm gonna fucking shoot you if I can. Like, get out of here. So yeah, I don't. That's why it just because it's one of those things where like I've done. Like we spent so much time on it, and I still have a second island I haven't even touched yet.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of like, I really hope it doesn't get tedious as the time
Mm.
goes on, because obviously, like they put that mechanic in to stop people like going from waypoint to waypoint, because
Yeah.
that's what Assassin's Creed has turned into. Just complete. The map is massive and it's pointless because all
Yeah.
we're doing is place to place to place to place, like not even exploring it really. Um, so they put this in to try and take away from that. I just wish they were like, that's all you have. Like I wish they didn't, because it seems like they've kind of gone, oh, this is the cool new thing, but also like if you're stuck, here's the
Mm.
question mark, whatever. Whereas it's like, I guess you have to kind of cater for everybody, but um, personally, if I can figure out how to turn that off, I'm gonna turn that off and just
I'd
kind
say you can. Yeah. Yeah. I'd say there's definitely a way to do it. But
of.
good
But yeah,
game.
like I said, yeah, good game so far. The side stories, like I said, I enjoy the fact that they all kind of
Mm.
tie back into the main story somehow. It would be nice if they weren't as bleak as they are, and I guess the whole concept of it is kind of a bleak story that you kind of have to get through. One thing that
Totally.
I'm really enjoying though as well is the gear and the progression and like all the different like the samurai outfits and stuff that
Mhm.
you can get is just class.
Yeah,
Like it's really
there's.
cool
I don't
gear.
know if you've come across them. Have you come across the different dye merchants yet? There's a white
Yeah,
and
yeah,
a
yeah,
black dye merchant.
yeah.
Oh, there's it's so good as well because there's like they specifically dye your gear all black or all white, and it's awesome. So it's really good kind of coming across those two and kind of
Oh,
where
I
they
have to
are
find
and
them.
stuff.
They just do it all black or all white.
Yeah, so like
Oh,
if you
that's find
find
it.
certain merchants as well, yeah, they can dye your gear certain colors, but only the white dye merchant and the black dye merchant can do full black and full white, and it's
Oh,
class.
must
It's
find them.
really good. Yeah.
But yeah, enjoying it so far.
Mhm.
And looking forward to kind of seeing what the second half of it is like, and then probably having a full review.
Yeah,
Probably not
because I'm enjoying the story.
next year.
Like again, and I think it's really good, and I'm looking forward to the end of it. But like, it's one of those games where I don't think it's going to be spoiled on me, and I have a feeling I know what direction it's going to go, so I don't think it can really be spoiled on me. So
Mm.
yeah, I'm just going to take my time with it. Like I'm going to try and play a little bit of it and not try and rush through the story and see what happens as well. But like, I think Sucker Punch done a really good job in this. Like again, they're a good studio, so I'm happy this worked out for them because they've been working on this game for an entire generation basically because they had what was it, Infamous Second Son was their very first thing that came out as a launch title,
Yeah.
and then there's this game right at the end of the cycle as well. So like I think this is a good one, and it's getting good props. Like I'm even seeing over in Japan there's Japanese game journalists saying that like this is a game that they should have done. So like Japan should have done this, and it took the Western world to actually do a good version of what like a game that they should have done. And it's like that's
Yeah.
actually really good like kind of feedback to get, that like even the kind of nation that you're basing this off are very much like this is done so tastefully and so well that
Mm.
like they should have done it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's good.
Have you actually, one thing, have you tried Kurosawa mode yet?
No, I haven't. I
Oh,
haven't
that's
changed
really
really
worth
any of it
trying.
at the minute. But the Kurosawa mode is just black and white, isn't it?
Oh, it's black and white. It's all in Japanese, but
Mm,
it doesn't just put a black and white filter on it. Like it
mm,
puts it, the whole screen and everything like it's kind of almost fuzzy in the
mm.
sense that like it, and the sound changes because it just goes full on like what
Yeah.
an old samurai film used to look like, and it's just like it's not
I
just a
must
black and white
change the
film.
mode a few times as
It's
well
so
just to
much
see,
more
just
to it.
even for like side quests and see what it
But
looks
even
like.
like switch it, if you can switch it, I don't know if you can switch it on and off at these points, but if you can switch it on
Mm.
when you have it dual, it's the coolest
Oh yeah.
thing ever because it's
Oh
just like
yeah.
it's so it's just classic samurai old film. Like it
Yeah.
just looks amazing. The way it's shot when it's in black and white and everything. Oh, it's amazing.
Awesome.
Couldn't recommend it highly enough. But also don't keep it on the whole time because the color is really cool
I
in
was about to
terms
say,
of
yeah, like it drains like some of the best aspects of it, which tends to be the
yeah,
color. But yeah.
yeah. Sweet. So yeah,
Sweet.
we'll get back to that next week, potentially, maybe the following week for our full-on spoiler review. But I feel like halfway through, that's I've a good idea
Yeah.
of what it's going to be like going forward as well.
Same.
I'd be shocked if it changed too much more. Deadly. So will you finish up with some random recommendations?
Ba-dum-bum. Yep.
I know this time, huh?
So what have you been watching?
I've been watching a hell of a lot of MasterChef,
Oh
which I'm
yeah.
not going to
Which
go into here.
one? MasterChef Australia or MasterChef UK or?
MasterChef UK, but the professionals. It's
Oh yeah,
class.
that's a good one. That's a good one.
It's
Yeah,
so
yeah.
good. It's on Netflix. There's 2 seasons.
I think all those MasterChef and Chef and shows are great if they're not American. I think the American ones are trashy because
Yeah,
it just turns into like who's shouting at who. But if you do them in the UK or Australia, it's like, oh, these people are talented. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And that's what it's about. So yeah, awesome.
yeah. It's really good. I've literally been watching it for the last week in the background. It's a great show to just put on in the background, especially while you're cooking or something, because then it's just like you're so hungry for good food afterwards.
You just get into it.
Yeah. But what I've actually been watching this week is I did watch that documentary Fear City,
Oh
New York
yeah,
versus Mafia. And we put a
I've
review
only
for it.
watched the first episode of that.
Okay. Yeah, I put a review up for it during the week. It's good. It's a good season, or a good series, should I say. It's a really interesting story, like the whole story of how they brought down the mob. The fact that the mob were like in so much power still,
Yeah.
from the shadows in the late 70s, early 80s, with these 5 major mafia families in New York. And this is like how the whole story is like how they came up with like a RICO case.
Yeah.
And the reason I know what a RICO case is was because I first heard about it in The Dark Knight, because that's how they took down all the
That's
mob
true.
bosses.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It's the start of the Dark Knight when Harvey Dent comes in and locks all of them up.
Yeah, exactly. When they talked about that, when they started talking about the RICO case, I was like, oh, the first time I heard about a RICO case wasn't The Dark Knight. But yeah, it's basically how they come up with that story. Rudy Giuliani is the DA in New York at the time, and it's just like there's so much footage of him back then. It's crazy how he's turned into a melted welly since then.
That's a very good analogy of what Rudy Giuliani looks like. His personality of a melted welly as well.
But it's genuinely such a really interesting story, and how basically how the FBI, like, wiretapping only started at this stage. Like, so they basically, the mafia had no idea what wiretapping was until this started happening.
Yeah.
But how they ended up like wiretapping like the cars of a mafia mob boss, or like the homes of a mafia, like how they FBI
the story of the guy coming in to fix the TV and then setting up the wiretap is just amazing. Like, it's
amazing.
crazy that was a thing.
But like it's one of those series for me where I'm like, this should have been 8 episodes.
Yeah,
like, this should have been longer. There should have been more detail. You should have gone into the mafia families. It felt like you just kind of skimmed over a lot of it. There could have been so much more good stuff there.
Yeah.
So it's a shame there was only 3 episodes. You can't do a season 2 because you've told the story. You just should have gone in more detail. But it's absolutely, I said in the review, it is crying out for a Narcos / Sopranos style remake of the story, like for a Netflix dramatic series. Because like, if you think about like the fact, this whole story, you've got a big dog like Rudy Giuliani, like that someone could play in the story. You have all the FBI agents with these ridiculous stories of how they're like wiretapping homes, and how they're like wiretapping like restaurants that the mob are usually in. Even one of the FBI agents was talking about, like, when they arrested one of the bosses, he found out that the other ones were arrested by being in the car ride to the cops, like to the precinct. And like how they almost like the cop was almost like ashamed because he's like, yeah, sorry about this. This is how we got you all. Like, they had this like weird respect for each other.
Yeah.
Because of what they do. So there's just so much that could be translated into a great episode series if you get the right cast and the right people behind it and stuff. So I'd be surprised if they don't have a story coming out like this soon, because it's there. Like, it's there waiting to be adapted into a good story.
Nice.
Yeah. How about yourself? Are you watching, listening, reading anything good?
I started watching F is for Family last night. Yeah, so like it's one of those shows that's been on my list for the longest period of time, and I just never got around to it. And then I was chilling there yesterday. I'm like, looking at stand-up specials. I actually watched the Adam Devine stand-up special, which was not good. He's a better actor than he is a stand-up comedian. But then I was looking at other stand-ups to watch, and I saw Bill Burr, and then I'm like, oh yeah, he's in like F is for Family. So I started watching it, and it's really good. Like, I really, really enjoy it. Like, it's very similar to like a Family Guy, but a little bit more, I suppose, higher brow, I suppose, to a degree. Like, not in that like it's up itself or the comedy's even smarter. It's just, I don't know, it's kind of a more simplistic way of doing the comedy, and it's like, it's just interesting and fun. And I don't know, I think Bill Burr nails it. And then what's her name, Laura Dern is the mother in it as well, and she's fantastic. And then Kevin Long plays one of the kids as well, and then Sam Rockwell plays this crazy neighbor that they have who's like super ripped, big drug addict, but like he's super wealthy and he works in a radio, like he's supposed to be this cool guy, and it's super, like it's just fun, and it's really hilarious. And I don't know, it's kind of a window into like that whole 1980s America and like the crap that was that time period as well. But like it's just fun and it's enjoyable and it's really brisk and easy to watch. Like, you know, it's like it's just a good time. So I suppose we were chatting there about Hoops at the start and all these individual shows that they have that are R-rated comedies. This is certainly one that I think anyone who likes that, you know, whatever Rick and Morty style Archer / whatever will love this. Like I think it's really good, and yeah, couldn't recommend it any higher to anyone else.
Yeah.
Have you watched any of it before?
Yeah, I've watched all of season 1.
All of season 1?
Yeah.
Did you like season 1?
Yeah, I loved it. I'm a big fan of season 1 because it's just it's abusive humor. Like abusive humor always works for me. I don't know what it is about.
I'm the same, and Bill Burr is the best at it as well. He's just hilarious. It's just deadpan and
it's just people giving each other abuse for 30 minutes at a time. Like it's hilarious.
And there's like 3 seasons of it already out on Netflix, and the 4th season's coming like really soon.
Yeah, that's the only thing. I watched the first episode of season 2 and it didn't really hook me, and I haven't gone back. So I need to get back into it.
Yeah.
Because I don't know why it was one of those things where it's just like, it's grand, but I just other stuff came along. So I'll definitely want to try and get back into that. But yeah, if you actually watch season 2, let me know how you get on.
I'm halfway through it, or about maybe a couple episodes into it as well. Yeah, at this stage. But it's good so far. Like it starts off differently from the events that happened in the first season, and it's like a different power dynamic, I suppose. But it's still really fun, and like again, if you like the first season, you're definitely going to like the second season.
Yeah.
Fair enough if the first episode doesn't catch you, but it's more of the same. It's basically a continuation of the first season. So
yeah,
cool.
Deadly. I think that's us for this weekend. So
nice.
So if you enjoyed, guys, like we always say at the end when no one else is listening to us, hit the subscribe button on YouTube and share it with a friend. Tell people about the show. That'd be great. If I prefer to review it, that's a good thing.
Do that.
Just hit 5 stars and then write whatever you want. Just hit 5 stars and tell us a story about yourself.
It needs to be 5 stars, and if it's not 5 stars, then you know something bad happens.
Yeah, if you hit 3 stars, don't even write it because we're not going to read it. So hit 5 stars. Tell us a story about yourself, and sure, we might read it out in next week's episode if you do.
Sure.
Deadly. All right, guys. Thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Watch Survive. Listen to Survive. Bye.
Watch Survive.